The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today for
Worship Wednesday.
Yes.
Ooh, everybody's favorite day of the week.
Now, if we had really worked all this out, we would be doing this remotely from camp meeting.
Yeah.
Because this week is camp meeting, but that didn't happen.
Nope. Sorry, gang. Here we are.
So, we're recording this before camp meeting, but as you are hearing this, we are in the heat of it. We are in
the thick
right
of it
in
all.
the middle of camp meeting,
Yes, sir.
which started on Sunday, July 6th, and now we're Wednesday on the 9th. We're predicting you've been doing all right.
Yeah, can we just speak that now? That'd be great. We're all still alive and breathing. I hope we are, because we got a lot more to go at this point. Oh, yeah. It'll be great.
And then, of course, if you haven't yet, then if you're listening to this on Wednesday, we still have camp meetings every night from now until Sunday.
Yep.
And weekdays and Saturday, actually both, are all at 7 o'clock. And Sunday is at 5 o'clock. So you want to take advantage of that. It'll be a lot of fun. Come down to Hocking Hills Retreat Center in Logan on Chieftain Drive. I'm sure Google will help you find it.
It'll get you there, guaranteed.
All right. So let's chat. What are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk a little about camp meeting.
What?
Believe it or not.
All
Believe it
right.
or not. But not just about like the services. We've talked a lot about like what it goes into planning a service and picking songs. And last week we talked about that and, praying and listening to the Holy Spirit to help us pick out what songs for what night. But there's also a lot of other stuff that went into the preparation of this week. I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. Give you another peek behind the curtain at, it's not just picking songs and playing guitar. There's a lot that goes into behind the scenes. So, yeah.
So preparation for Hocking Hills, otherwise known as Preparation H.
Yes. Preparation HH.
Oh, RC. Yes, that's what I meant. That's what I meant was Preparation HHRC.
That was good. I was proud of you for that. That was nice. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of just start from the top and work our way down as to what all we had to do to prepare for this week. So if you haven't been down there already, there is a full sound system down there, and they got a mixing board and a full speaker system, and what's called a stage box, so you can plug stuff in and get it up, a digital snake that gets it up to the soundboard, so you don't have to run 10 million cables that far, you're just running one. But outside of that, they don't have much as far as musician stuff, like instruments. So we pretty much have to bring everything that we're going to be playing, which includes a full electric drum set, which we can get into the details of the electric drum set we have here later. We're bringing down our own keyboard. We're bringing down all the guitars that are needed, which for me, I'm bringing 2 electrics, so I have a backup because I tend to break a string every time I touch a guitar. I'll have my acoustic guitar down there. Noah will have his guitar, electric and acoustic. All of our pedals that we had to bring down. So if you don't know, in the electric guitar world, we use, essentially it's a pedal board, but it's a digital version of an entire guitar rig in one box. So instead of having to bring down a giant amp and a power speaker for it, and a series of all these pedals, we use what's called modelers. And so you can have what sounds like a really nice, expensive guitar amplifier, but it goes directly into the sound system. And so you don't have to worry about a giant speaker on stage blowing your hair back during a ripping solo.
Yes. Well, the sound guy lobby is very strong on this particular point.
Yes. If you are, I'm just going to say this, if you are a church guitar player and you're still using your giant amp on stage on Sunday mornings, stop that. Just stop it.
It's so hard for your sound guy.
Yes.
And it just makes it a painful experience because 100%. You will never hear enough that you want to hear without making it painful for everybody else.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of us using in-ear monitors and not floor wedges, is that also eliminates a bunch of unnecessary noise going out into the room. So, so we're bringing our pedal boards, which will allow us to not blow people's hair back when we play ripping solos. I'm looking at you, Noah.
I'll have 4.
4 solos.
He's got to have his guitar on his back while he's playing drums and just sling that thing over.
Hair down.
Just whipping it around like a windmill.
I think that the bun comes out as you're pulling the guitar from behind your back like a samurai.
I just got chills.
Oh, so good. But speaking of in-ear monitors, so that is also something that we are bringing down because they do not currently have in-ear monitors. So we're bringing down some wireless in-ear monitors so that our vocalists at the front of the stage aren't tethered to a cable. And then all of our musicians will be, unfortunately, tethered to a cable. But that way it gives us the opportunity that everybody can have their own mix of what they want to hear. Instead of like, I'm really annoying and like my guitar super loud in my mix. But if Noah's sharing that mix and he's playing drums, he doesn't want to have to be deafened by my guitar. He wants to have more of him in his mix so he can hear himself. So this gives us the opportunity to avoid that problem. But again, we have to figure out how much of that we need to bring down, all the cables that we need to bring down, all the in-ear monitors that we need to bring down, as well as like, I didn't even think about this till today, is providing iPads for the team so we can have music. Because that's something we do here on Sunday mornings. We provide iPads for people. So we'll have to bring down iPads just in case somebody doesn't have their own. The stands for those.
Add that to the list.
I have a working list right now. I just hopped on Amazon today to pick up a few extra things. So all that to say, there was a lot that we needed to kind of rack our brains around about what we needed to bring down ahead of time so we don't get all the way down there and realize, we forgot something.
Now, this is going to be a little inception-y, all right, for just a moment, since we are recording this before Wednesday.
Yes.
So, and half of camp meeting is already happened. But if Zack happens to mention all this stuff, when you're in between meetings and so forth during camp meeting and talking to people before and after, maybe some of them would be listening to this episode because they might be curious. There's going to be a lot of churches represented at district camp meeting. Yeah. And maybe they would be like, how are you doing this, that, or the other? So let me say, as we have your attention, that if you want to email podcast@shepnaz.org, you can get in touch with us that way. Any of the three of us or whoever needs to know, but we can forward that. So that if you're curious, like, okay, how did you do the in-ear stuff, or how did people control their mixes and all that, we'll be happy to offline talk about how you might be able to use that in your situation. Yeah. A great example of that, not to get too in the weeds, but just an example is that when we started partnering with Johnstown before they were actually our campus, they already had some equipment. And in fact, they have the same mixer board that we have down at the Hockey Nails Retreat Center. Might be a little bit different version, but
same concept.
Yeah, every Behringer X32, there's like 5 different formats for it, but it runs the same way basically. Yeah. And when we started working with them, we're like, hey, did you know that with your board, you can actually allow the different musicians and vocalists to control their own in-ear mix so that they can figure out how exactly they want it to sound. And one of the reasons that's important is because there's only so much a volunteer can do when they're trying to help run sound on a Sunday morning. Right. And trying to get everything up and running and making the main mix sound the way it is. And if you're doing a separate mix for the live stream, getting that sound the way it is, it's also difficult then to also satisfy maybe 10 people on the stage that want to hear everything exactly the way they want to hear it. And so we then make the soundboard available on a Wi-Fi so that people can just on their own phone, they can connect to it, and however they want to hear it, they can hear it. Now, I've gone down through some of the mixes on a Sunday morning, and it amazes me what people choose to have as their mix. But hey, if it works for them, that's what's important.
Exactly.
And I would have never guessed that would be what they would want to hear. But, nonetheless, it's what they need. And so they can tailor it exactly to the way that they want to hear it.
It's just their microphone, a kick drum, and one cymbal.
Something really weird. I can tell you, there's quite a few vocalists that just don't care about the beat whatsoever. You know what? I'll just get it by osmosis. I kind of feel it.
I'm a feeler.
What's that click? What's that clicking noise? I don't need to hear that.
Turn that down.
Yeah. Singers, if you are into listening to this, please turn your click up. Please. Please, for the love of God. I love it. Well, Noah, do you want to kind of nerd out on the drum kit situation and explain like why ours is a little different?
Yeah. So normally in the older drum kits or the more affordable ones, I guess.
And these are electric drum kits.
Electric drum kits have only really, when you're mixing, 2 channels that you can really, that's all the leeway you get is kind of
left and right.
Yeah. And everything goes up together. So the kick, the snare, everything's together. But with the drum kit that we decided to go with, you can actually spend a little extra money and get, what's the name of the
F note?
No, the
interface.
Yeah, you get like a whole nother interface that comes with it so that you can on the board pretty much lay everything out as a normal acoustic drum set. Because you have those, for those you don't know, they have the mics on the drum kit that each thing is its own separate channel on the board. And so that's pretty much the same thing with what this electric kit is that you can now mix everything individually. Gives you a lot more freedom, takes up a little more space on the board, but like we talked about before we started, it's there so we can use it.
Yeah.
So that just gives more freedom. And even just makes in-ear mixing better and easier. So if you need more kick, you need more crash, you need more snare, you can do that. And it just sounds better.
Yeah.
It sounds better in the house. Sounds it's a little more pricey, but I would recommend that kit to pretty much anybody who's wanting some sort of electric kit.
Yeah.
Church.
It's one of those things, like I personally hate electric drum sets. I just have never liked them. I had not found one that sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you can't really mix or change or EQ anything without it affecting the whole kit. But like what I love about this one is so like the kick drum it's close to where you want it to be, but it's not quite there. Now you can go in, EQ that specific channel to make it sound even more realistic.
Yeah.
And so you can really dial in each one to sound like, just sounds like a real drum set.
That's what's crazy with that. The brain of the whole drum kit is you can go in and pretty much as if you were tightening the head or dampening it, or you can muffle it. You can do all sorts of different tuning stuff, which I've never seen you've been able to do on any sort of electric kit.
Yeah. Like when we first got that kit, Noah and I took a ton of time and just went through, and instead of just being like, oh, here's a kit that came with it, we were able to go through and be like, oh, I really like this kick drum sound, but I don't like the snare that comes with it. So now I can change the snare sound.
Yeah.
And we have a full custom named set that's just our custom sounds. So.
Well, and what's kind of amazing about that, even aesthetically, this particular set that we're using looks a lot like an acoustic set.
Yeah.
And can even fool some sound people to think that it's an acoustic sound.
Yep.
But so I would venture to guess that a lot of people that will attend camp meeting this
Also,
week,
no clue.
they will not even know that it's an electronic set.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you a little secret. The giveaway is looking at the cymbals.
Yes.
Because you're not going to find metal cymbals on an electronic set.
Yep.
But the actual drum heads, they have what appears like a regular acoustic shell. And so it has the aesthetic. It doesn't look like you're playing some techno 80s
Right.
kind of
Rock band drum set.
rototons, kind of, whatever. But yeah, it looks like a regular set,
Right.
but it's obviously not.
Yeah.
And, but it sounds so natural that I would say the majority of people will not know that it is an electronic set.
Yeah.
And drummers don't need to be behind a shield anymore.
Yeah.
They can come out and be with the rest of us.
We let him out of the cage.
So about that, we decided, since he didn't have a cage, we would just put an entire sub stack right in front of him to cover him. We're like,
that hair comes down. It's only a few people seeing.
you can't see his face, but you can see the hair
You'll see
fly
the hair.
from either side of the sub at some point.
Oh, that's good. Well,
And if you go down there, you'll see what I'm talking about.
yeah. So do we want to, let's talk about that too. So it's talking about bringing stuff down, right? We'd mentioned that. They do have a full sound system. But as things do, one of the subwoofers was kind of on the fritz. And so the first time we went down to kind of check things out, it was not working at all. We could not get it to power up or turn on. Well, then we showed up Monday and it was working perfectly fine.
Yep.
So with that being said, we have some friends at Grove City, and they still had some speakers from back when I was on staff there that we used for winter retreat and for our Canal campus that they were gracious enough to let us borrow. And so we had quite the adventure and had to start here in Gahanna with the work truck, drive up to Johnstown to the food bank to fetch the trailer, which we had to unload lots of old equipment out of to make room. Then drive that trailer to Grove City, where we arrived and waited a few minutes to get let in the door to find out that the speakers were upstairs on the opposite side of the building with the elevator. And so we had to push these very heavy. I mean, they're hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You cannot lift them without 3 to 4 people. They're heavy. Thank God they're on wheels. So we had to push them across the building, across the balcony, through another hallway, across another balcony to an elevator. Had to take them down the elevator one by one, then push them back to the other opposite side of the church where we were originally parked, and then we could load them up. So we did all that, drove them down to Logan, got down there and realized we didn't need all of the speakers, but just the subwoofers. So we did replace the subwoofers that weren't working great with some very nice, proper working QSC 18-inch subwoofers.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of using something that works sometimes.
Yeah. Exactly.
We had some people that had inside intel, and they're like, well, if it turns on, it'll work. Yeah. It'll work that day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow when you turn it on, if it doesn't come on, well, that'll be a day it doesn't work.
Right.
So okay, I don't think we're going to roll with that.
Yeah, especially if we have working ones with us. Let's just use the working ones. So ended up working out great. And then God bless Joe Ailshire was able to help us out also with Brent and Dean down there as well, who have been doing camp meeting tech for a long, long time. Brent and Joe were able to pretty much completely rebuild the entire scene for the board to accommodate everything that we are going to be using.
And we did it so quickly.
It was so fast. Noah and we blinked and you guys were done.
I didn't even know what happened.
Hey, right? I was like, how'd they do it that fast? Who would have thought they'd get it done in 6 hours?
I know, right? It was wild. So yeah, but it got done, and I mean, in everybody's defense here, like we are bringing way more down and using way more than I think Camp Meeting ever has, running this full band the way we're running it. So a lot of work went into it. Joe did a ton of work. Brent and Dean are doing a ton of work, and we're going to have some of our guys from here coming down to also help with sound during the week, and it's going to be good.
So Brent brought a lot of knowledge from previous experience and like, hey, here's the ins and outs of all that, and was extremely helpful with all that.
Absolutely.
And while Brent and I were struggling and getting everything ready for audio, Dean was working on video. And maybe people realize this or don't realize this, but they do live stream meetings from Camp Meeting. Now, we don't want you to use that as an excuse not to come down.
Correct.
But it is a great way to capture ones that you aren't able to be at physically, or if for some reason you can't come. There's a lot of great reasons why you would join online. So definitely be looking for that as well. I don't know that I have all the inside intel on that, but go to sconaz.org, and I'm pretty sure you would want to check the Sconaz Facebook page. That's probably where you're going to find some of the stuff happening online. And Dean, when he's getting things set up, I'll just kind of talk about that for a second to kind of what the other things are. We were sitting here talking about the audio is obviously very important to the band. But there's another element that's very important to the congregation, and that would be the video, because without Dean setting up Pro Presenter, very similar to like what we use here, so that you have lyrics on the wall. And then he also is setting up the live stream. We have a couple cameras in the back, and he's got a video switcher. And so there's video content going out to the live stream. He takes the audio feeds from the audio side and mixes that in with the video. He's also, like, anytime that there might be a video played during services throughout the week, it's going to be played from his side, and then the audio gets their audio feed from him. So there's communication back and forth. We're sending audio, but he also sometimes is sending audio back the other direction. And then there's things that we just get used to seeing, but don't think about how does that happen.
Right.
And there's things that we call IMAG, and that's just short for image magnification. And essentially, that's when, if you are in a place, an event or whatever, and there's a speaker up front, and this has become very, very common just about anywhere you go, that you put a camera on that person that's speaking, and then you see a bigger version of them on whatever screens that they might have. And depending on the venue, that looks a lot different. But down at Hockey Nails Retreat Center, we have a couple of pull-down screens on either side of the platform. And so Dean works out all those details so that when you need to see lyrics, you see lyrics. When you need to see a video, you see a video. And when it comes time for the speaker to speak, then you'll actually see a larger version of the speaker on either side. And that's very helpful if you happen to be somebody that's sitting within eye line of, say, the speaker stacks that we were talking about, and you can't see directly to where the speaker is. You can see on the screen up that's a little higher and a little bigger. You can see them speaking up there. And, I have found myself from time to time, and I kind of like check myself on this. So I encourage any of you that are going to a live event to kind of test yourself and see what you do. I'll be in a live event, and, I can see the person that's standing behind the mic, but I'll be watching the screen.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, And I find and then people will talk to me about how in another setting, they'll say, well, live stream's not the same as being in person. I'm like, even when you're in person, you're watching a live stream.
Exactly.
So it's like, it can't be that different.
Right.
But I just find that interesting. I think that's something that it's changed in our culture over the past decade or so, as that's become more the norm.
Yeah.
And so Dean works all that out for us. And even when the speaker is presenting, I'm not sure for this week how that's going to be, but a lot of times the way he's done it in the past is that if the speaker has notes or graphics or kind of things that they want to show while they're speaking, then he'll also be flipping back and forth during the message between image magnification of the speaker and whatever content it is that you're supposed to see.
Yep.
And when everything works right, no one notices. They just watch and they're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. When it doesn't, that's normally when people turn their heads and they look back like, hey, you're supposed to be doing something right now. And then we go, really?
Exactly.
We didn't know.
Right. Yeah. When tech stuff goes right, nobody notices.
Yep.
When tech stuff goes wrong, everybody notices.
Yep.
That's good stuff. But yeah, so all that to say, a lot has gone into this week. But we know that God is just blessing it. And, sometimes people will ask me like, why go through all the effort? They used to ask us about that at winter retreat every year. Like, why would you bring down all of this gear? Like, why would you bring a lighting rig? Why would you bring another sound system? They have one there. It's like, yes, we could take the easy route and we could have just gone down, did something simple. But like we say on this podcast all the time, like we want to give God our best. We don't want to give him the leftovers. We want to give God the first of our fruits, right?
Yep.
And if that means putting in extra time, driving down there multiple times with a trailer to get gear down there, it's worth doing for the kingdom. It's worth doing to give God praise, because I don't just want to give him praise through a song. I want to give him praise through my efforts, through working hard and giving him the best of what I can give, and not just say, oh, it's just camp meeting, I'll just grab my guitar and go down there. No, like let's do this thing right for the Lord. And I think when we work hard for the Lord, he honors that. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're feeling that God is really just doing something cool this week. So,
all right. Well, if you haven't already been down, we really encourage you to take this opportunity to come down. If you're hearing this on Wednesday, we've got services each night, Wednesday through Saturday at 7 p.m. and on Sunday at 5. I would encourage you, if you're coming down on Sunday, come early.
Yes.
Because it will fill up for sure.
Facts.
So in the meantime, you can also check out everything that's going on at church by going to shepnaz.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Pastor Zack and Noah, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.